In the United States, we have something called Section 1201 of the DMCA, where if you have a digital lock on something and a company like JW Electronics comes along and actually breaks that digital lock so that you can replace the battery on something that you fucking own, you know what happens? You can get sued. You can get shut down. Because that's literally against the law right now. If you wish to actually modify your device, not to do something crazy illegal, so that you could replace the fucking battery, that is illegal in America. Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. I usually have a lovely morning, but today I'm being served a side of seasonal affective disorder courtesy of New Hampshire weather. And one of the things that I'm learning from my trips to both Florida and the UAE for a couple of weeks is that honestly, I kind of like when it's sunny all the time. Now, those may not be the places that I end up, but when it's sunny all the time and just decent, nice weather, you got the occasional hurricane, but you don't wake up to this whole serving of seasonal affective disorder as often as you do here, and it really does something for your mood. And I'm happy that I rented here rather than purchasing here, because as beautiful as this state is, as much as I love the lakes and the mountains and the natural beauty of many of the areas, the weather can really screw with your mood after a while, if you know what I'm saying. So today what I'd like to discuss is a company that I believe is even worse than Apple when it comes to right to repair. Right to repair is the idea that when you purchase something, you own it, you should be able to fix your own stuff without the manufacturer getting in your way. And there are many ways that the manufacturer gets in your way. And in my opinion, this manufacturer gets in your way way worse than Apple ever could. I talk about Apple products on this channel and the repairability of them because I have a store that fixes Apple products. It's relevant to me. And I'm also an expert in that area, so I can cite the specific ways that they do specific things that, in my opinion, there's just no good reason for. But I don't talk about a lot of other companies because I'm not an expert in those companies. But from time to time, people will email me or reach out and point out things that they think are worthy of discussing on the channel. And I most certainly think this is. I think this is worse than anything that Apple has ever done. The company I'm talking about is Future Motion, and they make something called the Onewheel or the Onewheel Plus. This is about a 5 or a 6-year-old model pictured here, and it's just one of these little scooter boards that you can use to get around, and they're pretty decent at getting around. You know, they have decent range. They don't have any emissions. Even if it's powered off of electricity that comes from fossil fuels, it's still way better than an electric car when it comes to emissions. You're probably going to get 10 to 30 watt hours a mile on this when you're probably going to be getting, 150 to 350 watt hours a mile in a Tesla or a Mustang Mach-E. So it's still much more efficient than an electric car. You get to travel above ground rather than deal with public transportation in New York City where you're traveling below ground in a dark, depressing, rat-infested subway. So it's going to be better for your mood. And above all, it's very portable. You can just carry it up with you into your apartment. They're nice little tools. I see people use them on a regular basis. And while I personally prefer electric bicycles, I think this is a fine way to get around. It's a modern way to get around. And if you're sick and tired of trains and buses that are always late, or dark, depressing subway tunnels, or waiting in traffic 2 hours because it never moves, this is a great way to get around. Now, the problem here is the way they make them. So what you saw pictured is a 6-year-old model, which was actually a pretty good model. You could add batteries using Ego 2 batteries. You could have a fender with a battery on it. You could have a battery in your backpack. You could replace them with Ego batteries when they died. And it was a very user-friendly device when it came to maintenance. The battery is obviously going to be the item on this that wears the quickest because it's guaranteed to die. There is no such thing as a battery that is going to last forever. In 2018, they announced a model that uses NMC batteries, which last a little bit longer. And here's where the problems start to begin. Hardware revision 4208 blocks charging to the charge port. Hardware revision 4210 blocked external batteries with the app open. So you have to power cycle the device if you open the application. Hardware revision 4212 blocks external batteries and apps that display voltage readings or cell readings. It also pairs the controller board to the BMS, so if you have an issue, you are screwed. They have one repair center in the US. One headquarter. So if you need work done overseas, you're kind of screwed. You're shipping back this thing that, while light enough to carry up to your apartment, is really, really heavy for international shipping and massively inconvenient. Now, someone came out with a chip that would allow you to use other batteries with this and match the controller to another BMS, which sounds great, but we'll get to that in a moment. They changed the motor rim size on this from 6 to 6.5 inches so that if you want a tire change, it has to go back to the US, and their tires suck. They're not as good as the ones you can get from Hoosier or Burris. The stator size has not been changed. The motor is of equal power as there was before, so there's no point to it. A bigger rim means less air between it, so you're more likely to get a damaged rim, and you cannot use the readily available tires. They have made a proprietary charging port, but above all, if you disconnect the battery from the BMS, you get an error message telling you to send the device back to the company. That's right. Simply unplugging the BMS and plugging it back in will cause the device to brick itself. You must then send it back. And I have a screenshot over here that I want to share with you of this being discussed and what it says. So this is absolutely disgusting. So here it says, corrupted memory, please contact customer support. So if you unplug the battery from the BMS and then just plug it back in, that's it. You've done no modification to it whatsoever. The board is now bricked. It must be sent back to the US and it must be serviced by the manufacturer. That's your only choice. The battery is a wear item. There is no device on planet Earth that has a battery that is going to last forever. Every single one of these will eventually have a dead battery, which means that there is a 100% chance, 100%, that you will require the manufacturer for service because they have designed this device, which costs over $2,000, in a way where if anything like this ever happens, you need to go back to them. I would like to read a post that I suggest if you own this scooter, you follow the instructions in. It says here, TLDR, your GT is booby-trapped. Report them to the FTC for it. Hey everyone. Owner of Atlo Shop here with a request from GT owners who plan to maintain their board themselves, either because you are handy or you know batteries eventually die and need replacing, or as a shop owner who repairs your local riders' boards, or maybe if it is just plain unfeasible to send your board to Future Motion for them to do all repairs. As you may have heard already, if the GT battery is unplugged from your BMS, your board will get a corrupted memory error. Future Motion claims this is for safety. However, Congress has already said safety is not being a legitimate concern to not advance right to repair. So Future Motion is doing this under the guise of safety isn't an excuse. Also, JW has a very telling message from one of the Future Motion lawyers to him saying that they will continue to do everything in their power to prevent third-party repair and modifications. Please, if you have purchased the GT and you intend to maintain it yourself or sending it back to Future Motion just as infeasible for you, then I urge you to file a complaint with the FTC. They will ask how much you paid, when you bought it, who the company is, and what the problem is. Go to Report Now and then select Other. Please, keep it factual. The issue here is a purposeful booby trap of your board to prevent you from changing a normal wear item, not just the battery, but if the BMS were to get damaged as well. Thank you to everyone. I hope Atlo Shop and other SLS shops will continue to be able to support your love for floating in the coming years. And the website is reportfraud.ftc.gov. That is reportfraud.ftc.gov. And I highly suggest that anybody that has purchased this product that wishes to have the ability to either choose who repairs it or repair it themselves when a wear item, like a battery, dies, that they do it. This costs $2,200. So if you live in a country that they don't send boards to or that they don't provide service to, you're fucked. You just wasted $2,200. You literally just took that $2,200 and put it into a paper shredder. Now, one thing that's important to understand here is that they are saying that they're doing this for your safety. For your safety. This is all for you, just to keep you safe. And the FTC had come out with a report that we went over on this channel a while ago called Nixing the Fix, and we read the entire thing here on a video. It came out over a year ago, and there were some really important points that came out in this report. In the FTC's words, manufacturers provided no empirical evidence to support their concerns about reputational harm or potential liability resulting from faulty third-party repairs. A senator in this FTC report was talking about vehicles. And he said, and I quote, "The security and safety issues we heard earlier today were similar to what we heard during the Vermont Legislative Task Force. And to me, the arguments are largely bogus, and they fall apart. When we think about motor vehicles, I think we would all agree an automobile is one of the more dangerous products that we own and we control. To say that consumers should not be permitted to take electronics to a repair shop is basically insisting that our cars have to be repaired by the dealer. We've rejected this argument as a society, and this has to do with a ton of steel that we're hurling down the road, We'd be wise to do the same thing when it comes to lightweight electronics, heavy washing machines, and everything in between." This comes from the FTC. They specifically said that there is no evidence whatsoever when these manufacturers have talked about safety and security that they actually have any examples where safety and security has been compromised by a third-party repair. Yet they move ahead with it anyway. And it's just the absolute disgusting part of this. It gets considerably worse. Remember that company that I said that came out with a chip that would actually allow you to try and get around some of the stuff like this? They're getting sued. So check this out. So this is from JW Batteries. And we wanted to make you all aware that we, JW Batteries, LLC, are being sued by Future Motion for providing the community with products to enhance their one-wheel experience. Why is Future Motion going after us? We can only assume it's because we're the little guy and they felt we would be an easy target. We're not going to be bullied into submission. We have obtained legal counsel and intend to fight for all of us and our right to decide what to do with the one wheels we own. This is not going to be easy on us, and the fight is very expensive, but we refuse to give in. We are disappointed that Future Motion has once again decided to go after anyone that tries to offer the community options for enhancing their one-wheel experience. We greatly appreciate your love and support as we fight for our rights to modify products we legally own. Now, something to consider here is that many people have said that, well, listen, Lewis, if you're not able to do it, it's not the company's fault that you can't do a repair. It's not the company's fault that they hide the chip from you. It's not the company's fault that they hide the schematic from you. It's not the company's fault that they pair the device to it in some way. You should be able to reverse engineer it. And if you're not willing to reverse engineer it, then, well, you're just being lazy. You're just being stupid. Why don't you just reverse engineer it? Well, guess what? They did. And you know what happened when they reverse engineered it? They're getting fucked. And here's the thing. In the United States, we have something called Section 1201 of the DMCA, where if you have a digital lock on something and a company like JW Electronics comes along and actually breaks that digital lock so that you can replace the battery on something that you fucking own, you know what happens? You can get sued. You can get shut down. Because that's literally against the law right now. If you wish to actually modify your device, not to do something crazy illegal, so that you could replace the fucking battery, that is illegal in America. A country that came up with the flag, don't tread on me, with a little snake, or no step on snack if you're from 4chan. This is happening in America. This is an American company doing this. And we just lie down and let it happen. Every single day. And every single day I read the same thing in my comments. Lewis, don't buy Apple and it's solved. Lewis, don't buy Apple and it's solved. Just don't buy Apple and it's solved. As if every single other company is not following in the exact same footsteps. And there's this thing that people say about boiling the frog, where it's kind of like being a frog in water, and where you just slowly boil it and the frog stays in and then he dies. And there are people that'll point out that that's actually a fallacy. If you were to do that to a frog, if you were to slowly boil the water, that's bullshit. The frog actually hops out. But that's just an urban legend. So if it is true that even the frog, with its tiny frog brain, is able to jump out of the pot, then why don't we? Why don't we?